What can pharma do better?
Well, they can really put patients at the center, right? And by putting patients at the center, I don't mean at the center of their marketing strategies, but really putting the patient's voice at the center, really understanding their need and making sure that they incorporate those in the way they conduct their business and they respond to that need in the first place. Not what they think the need is, but actually the real need as expressed by patients.
What would you like to see happen then from pharma in the future?
Well, I would like really to see patient centricity transforming itself into something else, going into, for example, patient inclusion, right? And not just having patient at the centers, but almost like an exhibition, almost like a show, but really understanding that patients need to be included in the decision making from the very beginning and making sure that their voice, as varied as it is, as diverse as it is included from the very beginning. So no really patient centricity, no really more patient engagement, but really patient inclusion and patient diversity.
What do you think pharma can do better?
Well, I think pharma has come a long way. I'm very, very grateful to this opportunity to be here among so many pharma players. But I think what pharma could do better is really to engage with the patient, not just as a patient-centric approach, but partnering directly with patients, giving patients the respect and the time that they deserve, meaning that we should have patients as equal partners. We should employ chief patient officers within pharma companies, so they're part of the governance and even the execution along the lines across pharma.
What about clinical trials? How should they be done differently to really include patients and patient needs?
So I think in clinical trials, to really address the diversity issue, meaning that when we do a clinical trial, we want to test on patients who represent the market into which the drugs are being launched. We need to engage those individuals who normally do not participate in the clinical trials. To do so, we need to have a certain trust from the pharma company to the patients, but maybe even more importantly, from the physician and nurses who treat those patients and are the ones who execute the clinical trials. Technology is important. It's important with big data, but it's also important to consider the factors that are important to patients when it comes to logistics, when it comes to the whole family, and really incorporate that very early on in the design of the protocols, the amendments, and even the marketing materials of clinical trials.
Thanks very much. Super. What do you think the pharma industry needs to do better?
Well, our goal is to serve patients in the best way. And I believe if we don't listen to patients, how can we fulfill this? So I think what pharma industry has to do is really to foster the dialogue, not only with patients, but bringing all stakeholders together, regulatory bodies, payers, doctors, and patients, and really get a common understanding of what are the needs. Because only then, if we have a common understanding, then we can make the right decisions and do the right things.
What would be your message then to a pharma company where there is resistance to patient centricity?
Be bold and be courageous. We have to start the dialogue. And it might be clumsy in the beginning. It might be scary. And we might worry what are the risks. But I think we truly have to try it and we truly have to engage.
Thank you very much. What can pharma do better to really ensure that patients are seen at the centre and as partners?
Well, this should really involve patients more systematically in their work and not just on ad hoc purposes.
What does that look like? When would you like to see them involved?
Well, we should be involved from the first phase of the, for instance, of the design of a clinical trial, and then throughout the implementation, but also we would like to receive feedback on the results and outcomes of the clinical trial.
And what do you think you, as a patient advocacy group, can contribute?
We do have a role to play in all this, as we have the responsibility to make sure that cancer patients speak with one voice, and so that we need to empower patients, and we need to educate patients to make sure that they can speak at the same table together with the industry or other relevant stakeholders.
Perfect. What do you think pharma needs to do to ensure that clinical trials are really meaningful for patients?
I think they should include in the group which is preparing the study design patients' representatives, because they will then take care of the fact that the clinical trial should be meaningful and not just created in order to get an access to the market.
Perfect. What was your key takeaway or takeaways from today?
So today, as a pharma company representative, I've learned that we need to give more feedbacks to patients. We still have to work a lot on the trust for pharma companies, and also that we have to be more courageous, so to take risks in order to be able to change the environment around us.